score NIT easy. No, it sounds a bit weird, but it was come up with a couple years ago, so yeah.
And if you guys want to go follow him, watch the stream, check in on it, everything, be sure to do that. You will see more things coming from him here soon, whether it's his POVs of Minecraft videos or just more videos of what he's been seeing behind the scenes. Because I know I've had people ask me, man, we'd love to see other people's perspectives. So here we are, the first official branch off channel besides my channel where you guys can see everything, and it will be with Mr. Town Hodge, Fusion Knights himself. Let me get your stream. Let me get the tag for your stream into my description, and then we'll get this all going, you guys. Just give me 1 second as I've set everything up. How are you guys doing on this fine Saturday night? Tom, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing alright. Just hoping that I get lucky with the live stream and don't get copyrighted for some odd reason. And by that I mean because of the fact that I'm really playing a game that typically is very unforgiving.
Okay, so make sure we have sound off. There we go.
Make sure your audio is featured in this.
Make sure we have everything there. And then let's get Talon's thing into here. Okay. And this will be a whole entire link to Talon's channel, by the way, so you guys can go check out what he's posted in the past. This is for you guys to check out, obviously, whenever you guys want to, as we will be getting everything ready now. Oh. Okay, we're good there.
I will also be doing the same for your channel.
Thank you.
Let's see, edit.
Okay. Got all that ready to go then. We are all set, you guys. Just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page here. And we're ready to go. Cool. So, with all of that out of the way then, let us dive into it now. So, I'm going to get the game started. Make sure everything's set there. Awesome, we're all good there. Okay, so let's start discussing. Let's start with FNAF 1, Talon, if you're ready to go, of course. If you're not, I'm good to give you that. Okay, let's do it. Okay. So, we're going to start from... We're going to stay, obviously. Okay, so we're going to start with Five Nights at Freddy's 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Talon, I gotta ask you first before I go into how I discovered this game. We're going to talk about just discovering the game. How did you go about discovering FNAF 1? How did it all start?
Well, the way I discovered the series itself was actually very interesting. I didn't discover through, any pro-fan YouTubers such as the Markiplier, the King himself, or anyone else. I actually discovered it through I As Cupquake in an animation video.
Oh, okay. So you watched the animations of Cupquake before anything?
Yes.
Okay.
So prior to even getting into the series, I had no idea who Markiplier was. So,
wow.
And even then, when I found out who he was, it was because of his Nether series that he did.
Okay, okay. So it's not. So you did not find out about Mark through FNAF at all, and you didn't find out about FNAF through Mark. Okay, interesting. So, and then when you finally started, what was your first experience of playing a FNAF game or officially watching somebody play FNAF that was not an animation? What was your first experience doing that?
It was honestly very interesting compared to what I had seen, because of course, like when I watched that animation video, it looked pretty silly to me. But actually watching
Yeah,
it for myself, it kind of creeped me out. I'm not gonna lie. It
yeah.
wasn't this most terrifying thing in the world because I'm not scared of animatronics for one, but it was still disturbing enough as is to me because of the
Oh
audio.
yeah. The FNAF series, and as we'll talk about the game in a moment, especially the first FNAF game, it has that just like it factor of like even if you get over the jump scares, even if you get over certain things, the game itself still has a scary factor to it.
Yeah.
So, me myself, how I discovered the FNAF series, I discovered it when I was in school. I was in sixth grade at the time of Five Nights at Freddy's one releasing, and I remember hearing about people talk about Markiplier actually, and this terrifying game he's playing called Five Nights at Freddy's. And I remember hearing about it and being intrigued, like, what what exactly is this game? Why is everybody going crazy about it? Why is it being called the scariest game ever? And I remember actually looking up Markiplier, and it's how I also it's not how I discovered Markiplier. I watched a few of his things, but I was like, I didn't recognize the name at the time, so obviously when people are mentioning Markiplier, I'm like, who the heck is this guy? But I remember watching his FNAF video
Hmm.
and just going, man, this is crazy. And you know, when you were a kid in sixth grade, it was like a big dare to watch the FNAF series. Like you had to be pretty bold if you're going to watch all of the FNAF series from Markiplier. So that was something you like really had to do, and it was a lot of fun to try and everything. And to do it for a first time. Oh, we haven't got that yet. Thought I had that already. But to try that, it's just a fun experience that it's gonna be. It's hard to recreate that feeling of like discovering a FNAF-esque game. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's such a special game.
Hmm.
I remember us play. I remember when FNAF 2 also came out. I was still in sixth grade. Still in sixth grade through FNAF. Well, I believe I hit seventh by the time FNAF 3 came out finally.
Oh.
But I remember when all those games were releasing and everything. Um, I remember just all the hype behind them because it was something new. It was an insane game. I remember jailbreaking. So I had a computer lab when I was in sixth grade that we played in, and we actually would do like those free game websites, and there was a way to play like FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, and we'd all see, oh, who can get the farthest into it, who has the like who has the potential to beat this, you know, because everybody's terrified of it because you're young kids, you don't know horror that well, so it's a scary game for you. But that was my first experience of hitting FNAF. The big reason I ended up actually sticking with FNAF is actually mainly due to game theory, though.
Huh. That's interesting.
Because, so, I already knew about MatPat, game theory, all that stuff because of his Mario videos.
Hmm.
I think the most popular one I can remember off the top is why Mario is insane, a psychopath. Yeah, that's what it is. Why Mario is a psychopath. First one I can remember watching right there, and immediately fell in love with game theory. And when I saw him make a FNAF video, I still was not deep into the lore of FNAF as we're going to talk about here, but it really intrigued me because it just added a new perspective to the game, and that's also why I fell in love with game theory and everything. His FNAF video. So that was that, and that's how I got into FNAF. So that's how I discovered the game series. My first ever experience playing the game was in sixth grade, playing FNAF 1 and FNAF 2. Definitely a lot of fun playing those games. Playing them now again, as you guys have known, I played FNAF 3 in past. There's a video on TikTok out there somewhere. If you guys ever are gonna find it, we'll probably post it to the main TikTok if you guys don't follow it already. But um, it's an amazing experience, and FNAF always will hold a special place in my heart. Now, as we're gonna go on, let's start talking about FNAF 1, just straight up. Um, Now, when we talk about FNAF 1, we got to talk about just the atmosphere of the game. And Talon, when you first ever played FNAF 1, what's the first thing you immediately notice the second you just hop into that game?
It's one of the more silly things that probably maybe a couple people noticed, but it was actually for me the side posters on the wall explaining what was going on,
Okay.
like throughout the days of the game itself. Like discussing like when it was discussing the disappearances of missing children and such. It was those things that caught my eye.
Oh yeah, and that's always like I love the I love let's start talking with lore then. Let's talk about the newspaper clippings that it can find on the wall. Like man, I remember the first time I ever saw a screenshot of the newspaper clippings and just thinking, what in the world is going on here? And you read them and you realize there's a whole other story going on in what initially you just think is a survival horror game, just with silly animatronics that are roaming free at night. You realize it's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
And you look at the papers and everything. We're gonna. If you guys wonder what I'm doing on the screen, we're just gonna play Security from the beginning. We're gonna start a completely new game, just so I can play it again. I don't know. I don't want to try to do something I don't know what to do already. Do you guys know what I mean? But no, just straight up the first ever time playing. The first time you see the newspaper clippings, you're just like, wow, what in the world? And the missing children incident is probably one of the most popular thing we talk about through probably the first 3 games, or the first 2 games, not really the third game, because the third game has a whole different aspect to it. But what do you think FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, you think missing children incident? So, when we think that, what's your first take when you see the missing children incident, Talon, and the newspaper clippings themselves? So you just hear that 5 children are missing, now the restaurant's shutting down, the man's in custody, but there's not enough evidence because the bodies are disappeared, and now the animatronics are oozing blood and mucus. Like, what do we say? What do we think about that?
Well, honestly, just imagine the entire thing, especially the animatronics oozing out such substances, is absolutely mortifying for anyone else who has to actually witness it.
Yeah,
or
that's
even
what
have to experience
about
it,
this.
especially the children themselves. Because, when you go to a place like that, you're expecting to be fun and friendly for your kids, but all of a sudden you just see a bunch of suits oozing out things that you wouldn't expect to see in a family-friendly place.
Exactly. So, I think the amazing thing of FNAF 1, when we just talk about missing children, isn't it? Is the, first off, just the amazingness of how do we know for a fact, like, there's a killer, but we don't know who the killer. We could be the killer for all we know. Maybe that's why they are attacking us. I think that's the beauty of the first few games, is that the killer is such a, and that's the beauty of all the games, honestly, until FNAF 3 and 6 and everything, where we meet him and have to deal with some more. But, like, I think the beauty of it is that we never have to go face to face with the killer. We never experienced him in the first couple games. It's such a mystery. And that's the glorious thing about it, is that, not a glorious in that way, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's not just an open and shut case. Okay, here's the killer, here's what's going on, boom.
You have to actually, look into it yourself to even know they exist, type of thing.
Exactly. So, I remember the first big talk about the big Easter egg of FNAF 1. We all know what the big Easter egg of FNAF 1 is. But, when we talk about big Easter egg, how about, like, the posters on, I believe it's the east wall? Place with the crying children, or, It's Me. And we'll talk about It's Me a lot. But the crying children and all of that, what do we think about that when we see that for the first time?
Uh, well, personally, the crying children thing, throughout the series, in my opinion, it's something that comes way more interesting over time, especially with the mini games becoming more involved in the series itself.
Yes.
And generally speaking, with how FNAF 2, just to get into that real quick, since it partially ties to the first game. Well,
Yeah.
actually, is it the third game? Essentially, whenever we get back into the game, we start up, and it starts off by having us from the position of Freddy, and over time it gets way more unsettling with the
Oh yeah,
fact that
FNAF 2.
animatronics are
That's FNAF
starting
2.
to look at
The
us and
first
stare at
thing,
us, and
and
then
then you get
eventually
to
Marionette.
the puppet and Golden Freddy, like two of the most like biggest people in in the series. You come face to face with them in FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 through those little cutscenes.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Golden Freddy in a moment, as obviously he is no doubt the biggest Easter egg of FNAF 1 when you think FNAF 1.
Yeah.
But you got the crying children incident, and then how about we just talk about the animatronics themselves, the designs. They're so unique. Like like I love all of the animatronic designs from the games, you know. But when I think my favorite animatronic designs, you cannot ever go wrong with the FNAF 1 animatronics.
Not at all.
Like there's nothing wrong with them.
They can be pretty disturbing, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's the whole purpose of the game.
And I will tell you, to this day, the animatronic that for some reason, I know a lot of people go for Bonnie when they talk about like the scariest animatronic, but for some reason, the animatronic that like gives me the biggest creeps is Chica.
That's fairly reasonable considering that she makes some pretty disturbing noises throughout the game if you're paying attention to her.
Well, obviously her and Bonnie, but like FNAF 2 animatronics. Yeah, the FNAF 2 animatronics are really good. I love the toys and the withered. And the withered Chica just makes Chica 20 times more scarier. But I don't know. I think it's like the way Chica's eyes are just not looking straight at you. It makes me think Psycho. You know what I mean? Put like character. And that's the terrifying thing about the animatronics in FNAF. Scott does such a great job of putting character into the animatronics. Like, obviously security breach is one thing because these characters might as well be living things with how advanced they are.
Yeah.
But then you talk about something like FNAF 1. These things are obviously not living. They're obviously animatronics. But then you look at the way they move and the way they... You look at the way they look and the way they do things. It's like... It's something that's almost human about them, but they shouldn't. So you get more terrified about it. And that's the terrifying thing about all the animatronics. And that's what I love about it. Now, we're going to talk about the lore a little bit here, obviously, as we want to dive deep into that. So the lore of FNAF 1, when we go into the grand scheme of things, before we talk about Golden Freddy and everything, because he obviously fits big into the grand scheme of things. When FNAF 1 fits in the grand scheme of things, we obviously know it as, to a lot of people, almost the last true Five Nights at Freddy's location, as it's the location right before, or right after FNAF 2.
Mm.
So, when it fits into the... Honestly, it's crazy to think about when you think about the big timeline of Five Nights at Freddy's, which is such a convoluted thing. But when you think about it, FNAF 1 honestly has the smallest impact, and I think honestly that makes the most sense. And the reason that is because when you look back at the games, and it's very obvious. God didn't make FNAF 1 with the intention to make a series like this. He made it with the intention of, this is my last chance to make a game. Let's just do it. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes A, FNAF 1 so special, and B, it's also the biggest reason it makes sense that it's the least, like the absolute least, oh, there's Vanessa. The least, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The least impactful game of the series when it comes to the lore. Because, shoot, I can name you a lot of other games in the FNAF series that have a lot more lore impacted into it and everything. So,
Yeah.
with that in mind, let's talk about the biggest Easter egg and the biggest character of FNAF 1, in my opinion, when he talks about the story. The unholy Golden Freddy.
Indeed.
So, Talon, how did you first ever find out about Golden Freddy?
Hmm. I believe I found out about Golden Freddy whenever so once I discovered who Mark was, I also got I got to learn about Wade and Bob.
Okay.
But I remember one day, like, I ended up switching videos, and it was a Gmod video for Markiplier and Minx, I believe.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I believe it was, I can't remember if it was them that were, it's like a PvP type of thing, but I'm pretty sure it was PvE in the sense that it did have a working Final Fantasy Freddy's map, and they just
Yeah.
had to avoid it. And I'm pretty sure they end up getting caught by Golden Freddy at one point.
Okay. I remember my first ever time experiencing Golden, not experiencing, but noticing Golden Freddy was was when Matt Pat shows it off in his theory video, you know.
Hmm.
And I remember hearing about Golden Freddy and just thinking straight up, man, this is a character that is absolutely terrifying. Because you could have both doors closed, everything, and all of a sudden, Golden Freddy's just there. And it's unearthly. He's just, he's just absolutely, he's disturbing as a character.
Yeah.
Like, when you just see him sitting there, and you accompany that with the laugh of Golden Freddy, the little girl laughing, and everything. It's just absolutely absurdly terrifying. And obviously, the other thing we can push with the FNAF 1 game is it seems to be these animatronics themselves seem to be where the missing children's incident really gets going. Not obviously in the big scheme of things, because obviously before FNAF 1, Williams obviously killed a lot more, you know.
Yeah.
But these four characters. Oh, I'm gonna get killed. Oh, okay.
Sounds like he died.
Yeah, just a little bit. We're gonna load the old game because I don't feel like trying. I kind of forgot that with that right there I'd have to. I'm gonna go to like a 2 a.m. save slot, so I can kind of just roam around, you know, without having to do too much. That's kind of what I'm wanting to do right now, just roam around without having to do a lot.
Hmm.
But no, FNAF 1 is just an amazing game in the sense of there's so much fun things about it with the game itself. And still to this day, I can tell you, I can go into FNAF 1 and I will be scared to play it. Not scared of the animatronics or the jump scares. Like, I see a jump scare in FNAF 1, I'm like, oh god, that got me because I haven't played in a while, but, like, it doesn't terrify me. But, like, compare that to, like, the atmosphere. And that's what I love about Five Nights at Freddy's 1. The atmosphere of the game, especially with just how it works, is easily the scariest atmosphere in any of the Five Nights at Freddy's games.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's no comparing to it. I don't think there is or ever will be a FNAF game, and this is my personal opinion, but I don't think there is and ever will be another FNAF game that compares to FNAF 1 in terms of straight up distress. FNAF, Garrett said maybe FNAF 2. I disagree on that for the big reason of FNAF 2 is more of a stressful game because of all the animatronics, but the atmosphere of FNAF 1 is just absolutely, utterly terrifying.
The only two games I can think of that could even come close would be Five Nights at Freddy's 4.
Yeah, fair.
And maybe Pizzeria Simulator. Because when you're new to Pizzeria Simulator, you don't know what the hell is going on. You're just in a room with two vents by you. It's different between having doors, because you have to worry about them directly coming at you now.
Correct. And there's nothing really to protect you in Pizzeria Simulator besides the hope that the technology that's available to you will work.
Indeed.
And there's times in Pizzeria Simulator you feel absolutely helpless. So, with the lore of FNAF 1, we talked about the missing children's incident, Golden Freddy, the changes of newspaper clippings, how there is a killer on the loose. He killed 5 bodies. The bodies seem to be stuffed into the animatronics. There's a mysterious 5th kid that seems to be haunting the Golden Freddy costume, but we don't know where the Golden Freddy costume is at. And there's just so much more there's so much more behind that story that we'll find out in FNAF 2. Now, FNAF 2, I gotta ask you first of all, obviously, if you discovered FNAF 1 through Markiplier, when did you first find out about FNAF 2?
FNAF 2? That one's a bit tricky, because I'm not actually sure myself, honestly. Because there was a couple of different content creators that, at the time, I was looking into. Some of them I remember the names too, some of them I don't. But I can't give a guarantee as to how I discovered the second game.
Okay. So you can't give a guarantee, but you just remember, like, hearing about it and like, okay. So I remember hearing when the game was officially announced, like, hey, new FNAF game coming out. And I remember hearing about it, and I don't remember watching when the game initially released, because obviously I didn't follow it enough where I knew release dates and everything, but I remember hearing, like, there was this puppet and everything, and obviously I hadn't seen a trailer or anything, so I have no idea what to expect, so I'm like, oh, maybe they just redid FNAF 1 with new characters, right?
Yeah.
Then I finally watched somebody play FNAF 2, and I'm like, oh, this is completely different. You got 2 vents to your side now. You got no door in front of you. You got a flashlight and a Freddy mask. There's now 10 animatronics after you. 11 if you count the puppet. Which obviously you do, because the puppet's probably the most annoying character, besides one other character.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into him in a minute. But, no, FNAF 2 is such an amazing game in general. And I absolutely love FNAF 2. It is easily one of my favorite games in the franchise. It's my second favorite game in the franchise, only behind Sister Location. I love Sister Location. I love the story it tells. It tells such an amazing story, and that's why I love Sister Location. But FNAF 2, I love FNAF 2 because, first off, we'll get into each little thing. First off, I want to start off with the animatronics that we meet in FNAF 2. First off, we meet the toy animatronics. Toy Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Toy Foxy, aka the Mangle. And I love the toy animatronics because they are literally designed to be specially designed suits that can track a killer. And yet, in your week that you're working there, another killing happens. 5 more bodies disappear. And, FNAF 2 never explicitly tells you that, but you could just imply based off how Phone Guy sounds so distressed and how the animatronics are not acting. Because if you remember FNAF 2, until that phone call, besides night 1, the toys are really chill. And then they announce, hey, somebody stole this suit, and things are going wrong now. And that's when the toys really get mad because they know what killer happened again. Now, the biggest toy we got to talk about, besides Balloon Boy, and this is going to be my 30 seconds of this.
Mm-hmm.
Balloon Boy is easily the least important character in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, and you cannot change my mind. Like, when you think about the lore, like, where does Balloon Boy fit in to the lore anywhere? And where does him being a character impact the story in a big way? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, sure, he has the minigame of FNAF 3. But that's, like, you could have easily plugged in any other character into that minigame and it still wouldn't have changed a thing. That's just my couple cents on Balloon Boy. I do not like Balloon Boy as a character. He's annoying. Hello! You know, no. Don't mess
Well,
around
he
with
is
Balloon Boy.
annoying.
Now,
Personally, in my opinion, I think we can all admit that if the marionette wasn't around, it makes things a hell of a lot easier.
and that's exactly why Scott introduced the marionette. Now let's talk about the marionette slash the puppet.
Yep.
Oh, I just made that fly. That's fun. I like kicking that. But, now, the puppet is easily one of the most important characters in the whole entire series of Five Nights at Freddy's. And there's absolutely no arguing that. Because the puppet is the giver of life. And as we all know, as we see in a minigame in FNAF 2, the puppet is the first victim of well, not gonna say the name actually, of the purple guy. As we now know, he's the purple guy. We'll get into his name when we get to his name when we get farther down the line and we actually learn it. But we meet the puppet. And the puppet is easily one of the most disturbing characters in Five Nights at Freddy's. Hence why I think it makes sense that the puppet and Golden Freddy are the two biggest characters, because they're just both easily disturbing. Oh, I don't know how I didn't get caught. I don't know how I did not get jump scared by one of those staff bots right there. That was lucky. But, no. I love the puppet's character. The design, first off the marionette, is so unique in design. The tear stains and everything. Just everything about the puppet is such an amazing design, and I love it. The slick body, how it's able to move. I actually love it. Can you play FNAF 1? Not right now. I am thinking about moving to FNAF 2, but I'd have to start another stream, because that's just how PlayStation streaming works. Love it. And we all just love PlayStation streaming. Can't switch games for nothing. Why do they always come back? But, no. FNAF 1 is such an amazing game. Not FNAF 1, FNAF 2. I said FNAF 1 because they just mentioned FNAF 1. FNAF 2 is an amazing game, and the puppet's an amazing character. The first victim of the purple guy. And now, besides talking about animatronics, we'll talk about the wizards here in a little bit.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about the minigames. Probably the most... Let's talk about the minigames first, and then we'll talk about the cutscenes we get before nights. Let's talk about the minigames first. FNAF 2, if I do recall correctly, has 4 minigames in it. You got
Correct.
Go, 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 Give Gifts, Give Life, Help Them, and Save Them.
Yeah.
Right? No, there's 5, because there's the Help Them, Save Them minigame, which are 2 different minigames, but you're both controlled Freddy, so you can count them as one. Give Gives, Give Life, Go, 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 and then, what's the... Help Them is, is once everyone where you're playing as Freddy. So yeah, okay. So let's start with the mini game that's probably the least important, which is save them. Which is save the mini game. If you don't know, you're pretty much controlling Freddy and you're following the puppet around FNAF 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, Talon.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's what I thought. It's probably the least important of all the mini games. It gives it you're just walking around the FNAF 2 location as Freddy, following the puppet around. There are dead bodies everywhere. There's two big things in this mini game, in my opinion, that really show off something when it comes to the lore and speculative of certain things. First off, fact that Mangle, despite the body seeming freshly killed and everything, is moving. Mangle's the only one in that minigame that moves. And I find that really interesting. Because how to get to play it. We'll play in another one of the discussion streams, don't worry. I'll be doing a lot of discussion streams, so we'll get other games in here besides just Security Breach. But what was I talking about? The puppet, yeah. Mangle moving in it. And it's probably the biggest reason why there's so many theories that Mangle's not possessed by a kid and possessed by an animal. Because the kids are just killed. No other animatronics are moving, but Mangle is. So that's the first key detail. The second one is on rare occasion, while you're following the puppet, Purple Guy will show up and hit you, and all you'll see is you can't. Responding to save them. You can't save them. They're already dead. They're gone.
Yep.
You've lost. And that's probably those are the two big things of the save the minigame. Now Talon, third minigame in my opinion that's in that term, probably would be Go Go Go. If you want to explain Go Go Go, go ahead.
Essentially how Go 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 works is that you essentially start off as a protagonist. Well, not even the protagonist. You start off as another animatronic that you're familiar with, Foxy. And you're as Curtin. And as the minigame starts, you start to notice that you're in this cove, and it's just that. It's just a, innocent standing.
Not just a cove, you're in the FNAF 1 cove.
Yes.
Out of the blue.
Which is odd because you're in the second game.
Exactly.
But you eventually end up going, as the game states for you to, you end up heading off to the right side of the screen to end up in another room filled with children. Seemingly waiting for Foxy to show up so they can, get to see their favorite animatronic or just another animatronic that, their parents probably pay for them to see. And, it says you succeed and they all cheer, But it forces you to do it again. Except over time, it gets slightly more disturbing with Purple Guy himself showing up, in which sometimes people would just try to insinuate the idea that it's not the Purple Guy, it's actually the Pink Guy.
Which is probably the biggest can of worms ever in the FNAF universe. Which, by the way, thank you, Scott, for that, because it confused people for the longest time.
Yep.
Continue.
And, nonetheless, you would continue all the same, even though you'd notice little things like Purple Guy, or Pink Guy to some people, and even some of the children clearly being upset. Now, you wouldn't pay too much mind to it, because maybe the kids just aren't happy to see that there's a man standing outside, or it's just not their favorite animatronic. Maybe they're having a bad day. But
maybe they're having a bad day, yeah. Their day's probably not going too good.
As you start to go more and more, you get put back into the loop, and eventually, you just get slightly disturbed by the fact that Pro Guy is just staying in the same spot constantly. He's not doing much of anything. He's just standing. Though eventually, you get into the room, and you notice that all the kids, seemingly that were once happy or just not at all, and particularly enjoying the experience of, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, are now dead.
Correct.
Insinuating that, Purple Guy, or Pink Guy as some people call him, probably took them out. Made sure there was no witnesses.
Yeah, no witnesses.
But it's certainly a confusing experience considering, you're playing the second game and you're having to experience a first game type of event.
Correct. And
Now, I'm not sure how it ends, but pretty
well,
much
it
ties that you
ends
can't.
with it what if you I want me to remind you, Go 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 minigame ends with oh,
Is
there's
that what
Vanny
Foxy
hiding.
jump skimming you?
Yeah, it ends with Foxy jump scaring you. You go over there, the kids are dead, and Foxy jump scares you.
Right.
And then the next minigame I will talk about will be the ever so amazing. Oh, where's Freddy? Sec. There you are. The ever so amazing. If I can remember the name of it. Which one am I thinking of right now? Which one am I thinking about? It's the not gives life. The other one. You know what I'm talking about. Come on, Talon, help me out. Not give life. Which one is it? Talon, I'm thinking about it. Help them. There we go. Which help them. Essentially, you are by yourself as Freddy, and you're pretty much serving children cupcakes. And the beauty behind serving the children cupcakes is that they get angry as you are trying to serve them and everything, and you're slowly doing it all. But right as you are continuing it, you notice that there's a child outside. The child is trying to get back inside. And while it's doing all of that, you notice a car slowly start pulling up. A purple car. Slowly start rolling up. Closing in on the child. As that is going on, you then realize... Hi, Freddy. Good job. Thank you. Okay. Then... But, then you realize that, as they get closer, somebody pulls out. And who else but our dear friend, Purple Guy. Purple Guy steps out. You see the kid start crying. Crying more, till eventually killed. Right outside Freddy Fazbear. Car, Purple Man hops back to his car, drives away. Before you even know it, child is dead. You were jump scared by the marionette. Now the beauty of this minigame, it is officially where we see, and we know this just by the context of the area and everything, this is the first kid killed. Now we'll get into the actual identity of this kid later. But when we talk about everything... Okay, Freddy, can you stop talking so I can continue talking about FNAF 2? Thank you. Now, when we finish that game off, that minigame, you get jump scared by the marionette, implying that this first child officially inhabits the body of the puppet. This is William's first victim, implying that the first victim is the body of the puppet. And it gives the puppet its life. It officially brings life to the animatronics by what we will officially know as agony. Or also possession. But mainly agony, as the FNAF series likes to call it, as we will learn more about agony when we get into the book series and get farther down the game line. But that's the official termination for it, so that's why I'm already using it. Because obviously, don't want to not be official here. So it's agony. That is the main reason that this happens. So then we're gonna fast forward ahead to the next minigame, Talon. If you already know it, give gifts, give life. What happens in that minigame?
Well, if I remember correctly, because that's the minigame I have the least experience with from
Okay.
playing the second game. But if I'm correct, it starts off with you playing as a marionette and being surrounded by it was it dead children?
Do you want
I'm
me to
not
explain
sure.
this one? I know you don't have a lot of knowledge in this arena.
Indeed.
Okay, I'll explain this one, and then Talon will explain the thing I guarantee you he knows about because he absolutely loves it. So, in this what the heck? Spotted me. Did Monty spot me? Oh, he did. Okay, cool. I don't care. But but basically, in give life. You basically are playing as you're playing as the puppet. Yeah. Okay. Now I got it down. 100%. Okay, here we go. Playing as the puppet. As you're playing as the puppet, you see that there are 4 dead children in the back room. I'm going to hide back here real quick so I can explain this one without having to move because this is a stressful part of Security Breach. So, you playing as the puppet, and there's 4 dead children in the back room. At first, the puppet, using its eternal nature, decides, let's give gifts. So he places 4 presents in front of the children, hoping to make them happier. Unfortunately, as these children are dead, it cannot make them happier. The puppet, not knowing what to do next, decides to give life. Give the life to the kids whose life are taken from them, just like how the puppet's life, the first victim's life, was taken from it. It proceeds to put the animatronic heads, Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie, on the children's heads. But just as you place the final head on the final body, for just a second, you see one final body in the middle. And just right before you can 100% notice it, Golden Freddy jump scares you, implying that that 5th child haunts the spirit in the animatronic of Golden Freddy. So, that is give life. And the reason that's such an important minigame is because it shows you one big thing that officially pretty much answers one thing. Who put the bodies in the animatronics? And it tells us right here. The puppet did it. The puppet did it to give life to the dead children. So, in a way, the puppet helped the Willie Mafton, aka the killer. I'm just gonna name drop him now because you guys all know the name if you know the series at 5 Minutes Freddy's. But the puppet gives Purple Guy, out in a way. Like, hey, police don't know where the body's at. But he also pretty much screws him over because he gives life to the children that he just took lives away from. They would completely upend everything. Now, the last big lore thing we gotta talk about with FNAF 2, for in today's discussion, is, of course, the cutscenes on Night 1, Night 3, Night 4, and Night 5. Talon, I know you know these ones. Take it away.
Repeat that one more time because of the fact that I'm being shot at.
Oh, repeat. Now, before we end the discussion, let's close off today's discussion stream off with the mini games and the mini scenes before Night 1, Night 3, Night 4, and Night 5. Start with Night 1. Talon, go ahead.
Mini scenes. Well, for the first mini scene from night one, hmm, it's certainly interesting to witness firsthand whenever you start the game because it's something that you're not used to for one, and two, it's
It's
just
not
overall
something you're
something a
used
lot
to.
nicer to see because it piques your interest.
Correct. I was about to say nicer to see. Are you sure about that? Because it's pretty disturbing, but you know.
Yeah, but from night one, it essentially starts off with you pretty much being confused because you start off in a perspective that you're not used to, and that's the perspective of Freddy, good
Correct.
old Freddy boy. So naturally, you just decide to see what you can do by investigating your controller, or if you're playing mobile, using your phone and tilting from
Or if
side
you're
to
playing
side to
PC
see.
using your keyboard.
Yeah, and so over time, you're just looking around just to see what's going on, and it seemingly it seemingly gets more distorted over time, visually and audio based,
Yes.
with the screen itself staticking eventually, and just generally over time, it seems that the beings surrounding you, such as Chica and Bonnie throughout the nights, seem to become aware that they're being
Correct.
watched.
As in the second mini scene, you quickly realize where you're at, as you know it's the FNAF 1 location. Which,
Yeah.
when we talk about the third and fourth mini scene, makes the FNAF 1 location a lot more interesting. But in the second mini scene you notice that Chica and Bonnie's eyes, as they're looking directly at you, are kind of human-like, as they're just staring at you. They're not they're not looking directly at you yet. You'll notice that in, I think it's the third one, but they're looking your way now, and they're kind of like looking at you in a creepy way. You're like, why are you watching me, buddy? And it
Yeah.
honestly makes it really disturbing when you're going through the mini scene, as now Cheek and Bonnie are just staring at you, and you don't really know what to do at the time. So now we go through the third mini scene, Talon, as you know. In the third mini scene, that's your cue.
I'm sorry, I'm being shut up.
Oh,
The third mini scene. Okay, I don't know if this is a bit too early, but it's the third mini scene where they pretty much are dead staring at you, or
yes,
no? Okay.
it is.
Well, third mini scene, as I just said, you look around and you notice that they're pretty much giving you the coldest stare in your entire life, and it makes you feel uncomfortable for one because not that long ago when you're looking through the previous mini scenes, they were seemingly just looking through the environment, but now
The other disturbing thing
they're
is that
pretty much observing you.
there's also no eyes. It's just blackened out. It's just a
Yep.
hollow suit almost. And then we get the first encounter with another creature that's not Freddy, Bonnie, or Chica, in Golden Freddy, who also has eyes blackened out and is just staring directly at Freddy in a bone-chilling moment where for a second you were just celebrating getting to the next night. Now you're completely confused of why Golden Freddy, also in complete like he looks 100% fine. There's no damage to him. Is just staring directly at you. Now, we go to the fourth cutscene, which the fourth cutscene really puts things in perspective. And it's where you're looking around. Cheek and Bonnie are yet again facing forward like they were the first time, but there's a new face to greet you, and that face is Talon.
El Mayon.
El Marion. Marionette, out of nowhere. And this scene itself raises a lot of questions, and I'll put my own theory out there. Talon could throw his own theory out there. But it raises a big question. We're in the FNAF 1 location. Has the puppet been here the whole time? And my first theory about this, I have two theories here about these four cutscenes. First theory about the marionette being in the FNAF 1 location the whole time. It makes perfect sense. Because it explains the crying child images, because when you think of the crying child images of FNAF 1, you think puppet. You know what I mean? The puppet is so synonymous with the tear stains. When I think that, I think puppet.
Indeed.
The other big thing I noticed is what's the word I'm looking for? Is the cutscenes seem to be telling a story without showing us explicitly what's going on. First, it's just a chill evening and here's the story I decided to tell with it. And this is my theory. It's a chill evening at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Store is closed. You don't see this, but it explains why Bonnie and Chica start looking around the environment along with you and start looking at Freddy. Someone is there with other people. They just walked into the back room. Chica and Bonnie, being animatronics, are now awakened, along with Freddy, who is the first one to be disturbed by this. Hence why Bonnie and Chica are also exploring the surroundings, and so is Freddy. Now, the third night, Chica and Bonnie's eyes are completely blackened out, staring at Freddy, with Golden Freddy staring at Freddy. I think there's a reason for this. And then there's a reason the marionette shows up, and I'll see that in a second. I think when we hit the third cutscene, it is right after Purple Guy has killed the 5 victims. And they are slowly possessing the new suits. Hence the blacked out eyes. They're death staring. Then it explains why on the 4th time around, the marionette's now here, looking at you, and everybody's back to their main position. He's given life to you and is making sure you're aware. And that ends the cutscenes. That's my personal take on those cutscenes. Talon, do you have a take on those cutscenes?
You pretty much stated it. Like, for me, it's just pretty much the same as you with, seeming like it's pretty much their conversion.
Yeah.
And it could possibly be the fact that maybe over time, throughout the nights, maybe the puppet didn't do it instantaneously as the minigame would have put it, but rather it took a nightly based manner.
Yeah, possibly.
With Chica and Bonnie being the first to, actually convert, and Freddy still maintaining a AI construct. Hence why, it seems like Freddy has more of a set basis to look, with it only being left and right and not just emotionally based like a human.
Correct. Hence why it also could explain why Bonnie and Chica are actually able to move more than just their head and are completely looking at you by the time Golden Freddy shows up in the third run-through.
Exactly.
Now, before we end tonight's discussion for Episode 1, Episode 2 we will deep dive into FNAF 3 and FNAF 4, and I will tell you, after FNAF, when we get into FNAF 4, and especially FNAF Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator, those will itself take a long, we will not be able, it will not be the end of this at all, but, we're just getting started with these amazing things. But anything you have to think about that we did not touch in FNAF 2 or FNAF 1? Did we miss anything? Food.
I mean, if you wanted to get into a smaller thing, we could talk about the paper cutouts.
We could talk about the small things like the paper cutouts moving around, or the reappearance of Golden Freddy. No, we'll not be waiting that much. We'll actually be doing this every couple days until we finish the whole entire thing. Me and Town will be working on it. Well, actually, we'll have other people joining the live stream here soon besides just Town.
It'll be rotational.
Exactly. But, no, FNAF, I don't think there's a lot more lore-wise talking about FNAF 2. We can touch on the Wizards real quick.
Purple Freddy and Shadow Bonnie, but...
That's correct! Oh my god, I completely forgot about them too. Thank you, Talon. Good job. There we go. One more thing to go over. Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. Now, the Shadow animatronics are very unique. As when you first look at them, it seems like Shadow Freddy obviously takes on the appearance of Golden Freddy. However, Shadow Bonnie takes on the appearance of Toy Bonnie. And it raises those two beings themselves raise a lot of questions. Um, are they victims from the past? Are they past employees that have been killed? Are they are they spirits of the children that can't take over a body? My personal take on it is that they are actually um I think one of them, in my opinion, and obviously, because as we know further down, I won't fully go into this, but we're not playing as the people we see as paychecks, in my personal opinion. I think those are just old paychecks, you know? And I'll get into how I actually think we're playing as in each game. But I think those two are actually, one of them, I think, is the spirit of Jeremy Fitzgerald, who seems to be the Bite of 87 victim.
Hmm.
I think the other one is an employee that was unfortunately killed in an accident that we will really heavily get into in the next discussion video.
Yeah.
However, they are completely terrifying creatures. If you stare at any of them for a long enough time, they crash your game. Both of them do. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they both crash your game.
Yeah.
Very similar to how Golden Freddy would in FNAF 1. This completely crashes your game. And I absolutely love the characters. I love the design of them. They're probably bone chilling when you first like. I never personally experienced them in either game, but I remember watching. I think it was Mark actually revisiting FNAF 2, and he all of a sudden got Shadow Bonnie. And is just like, who the heck is this? Like it's just like I think it's like the first time in a while I've seen Mark genuinely scared to play a FNAF game.
Indeed. And not be smug about it.
Exact. Well, you know, no offense
He
to
is the
Security Breach, the game
king.
we're playing right now. He is the king. But to be fair, no offense to Security Breach, but it's definitely a game that does not worthy absolute horror when it comes to the FNAF series.
As of
In my
yet,
personal,
but we'll touch into that
as
some
of
other time.
we'll touch into that as while we're discussing things, we might get more information on the upcoming DLC over this game, and when we talk about this, there is an underlying story of FNAF Security Breach, in my opinion, that is utterly terrifying. But the game itself is not the most terrifying game when you just look at it on the surface level. I think it's when you dig deeper that this game honestly has some very terrifying themes. And
Yes.
that is the beauty of FNAF. That's the beauty of FNAF, in my opinion, as we end today's discussion stream. It's the fact that when you look at it, the game on it, and this is why we're going to deep dive the lore. When you look at the game on the surface, as all the games have their scary elements, jump scares, the bone-chilling atmospheres. But when you deep dive into the story, and you look at the characters, look at what's happening, this game series is one of the most bone-chilling and terrifying series in all of gaming. And in the next discussion video, we talk about how we go face to face with the killer and officially explore the Afton family. Anything else you have to say to close off today's discussion, Talon?
Remember, this character might not be important, but they still exist. JJ.
JJ! JJ! Unfortunately, it was replaced by probably a character that's more annoying than Balloon Boy and Dee Dee in Ultimate Custom Night.
Ah, yes.
So let's just have a moment of silence for JJ. Probably the most unused with most potential FNAF character. Moment of silence over. Okay. Now, thank you guys for everybody that watched. Please make sure to like the stream and everything. We will be archiving this, and I can promise you guys right now, me and Talon will be back for the next FNAF stream. We don't have a set schedule. Check out in the next few hours, though, because we might just be back. Never know. That's for us to know and you to find out. However, though, in the grand scheme of things, make sure to go check out Talon's channel. His link is in the description. Make sure to go subscribe everything to him. He will be starting to post more content on the channel soon of his perspective of certain things that we'll be working on. Exclusively maybe a Minecraft video that we're working on together right now. And
I can definitely
you'll
assure
see
that I'll be
perspectives.
seeing some Tokyo Remembrance.
Oh yeah, Talon. If you want more constant streams besides just uploads, also go check out Talon because he does love streaming his games.
Every now and
But
then.
that is all correct. But that is all for today's FNAF discussion. If you have any suggestions or questions about any of the first two games that we did not specifically touch on, please ask them and we will answer them. We will answer any questions you guys have for us. We know a lot about this series, even though I openly just forgot probably not the two most important characters, but two of the most important characters in FNAF 2. We still know a lot about this series. So any questions you guys have, please throw it our way. And as always, please like, subscribe, share this with your friends, family. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It is free. You can change your mind anytime. I appreciate every single last one of you guys. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all. Ah!
Do you know that?
Okay, that one. Stream's over, town.
Okay. Alright, time to start another stream.
No, yeah, we're like, you thought we were done.
Speed running.
I'm
I guess
definitely
I'll
gonna
have my
play
live
that.
stream as well.
I'm probably gonna play FNAF 3 because we're gonna be talking